In today's episode, we discuss the polarizing Carowinds coaster that has stood the test of time for over 30 years. Welcome to Airtime Traveler. Hello everybody, welcome to the Roller Coaster History Podcast. You are listening to Airtime Traveler. My name is Nathan Grace, and as always, I'm joined by my wife and lovely co-host.
Hey, I'm Haley Grace.
And thank you for tuning in to this episode of the podcast. I will let you guys know just at the top of the show here, Haley and I, we just got back from our Disney trip yesterday. And after going 100 miles an hour for 8 days basically,
yeah,
both of us are feeling kind of under the weather.
I'm not surprised.
Picked up a bit of a bug, so if we sound a little congested, we're gonna try not to cough all over this microphone. We'll get through this episode the best that we can. Be sure to follow us on social media, and also, as you're listening to this episode, I do post pictures on Instagram and Twitter. So if you want to, look at those images. I haven't been posting on Facebook.
Oh.
I don't know. We don't have a lot of people following on Facebook yet. If we get more people following on Facebook, I'll be sure to keep that updated too.
You need to let me know when you post on Facebook, because I'm more Facebook. You're more Instagram.
I'm definitely Instagram and Twitter. But
we should do a TikTok too. That'd be fun.
I've thought about that. I need to learn more about it, and
it ain't easy.
No, it's not. It's not. So it takes a lot more time to put videos together than just images on posts.
Yeah,
so
it's hard.
But if you go follow us on Twitter and Instagram, you can follow along with the images that I'll be showing Haley throughout the episode. Twitter, I'm able to post pretty much all the images I show her. Instagram, I'm limited to 10. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you can only post 10 images at a time on Instagram. So.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and Twitter, you're limited to 4, but I can post 4 at a time in a thread so that you can just kind of follow the thread down as you go through the episode. So. Twitter's the better place to follow along, but you will be able to get most of the stuff on Instagram if you go there. So, and also, just wanted to say, I talked about this at the end of our last episode, but we will be taking a break from January through March. We're gonna do Airtime Traveler in seasons. So, called the end of December will be the end of season 1 of Airtime Traveler. So we'll have this episode, which comes out on the 12th. We'll have one more episode that comes out on the 26th of December. And then we'll do some trip reports and maybe some coaster conversations over January through March. You'll want to follow us on social media so you can keep up to date whenever we do something new. But regularly scheduled episodes of Airtime Traveler will resume at the beginning of April. The first, I think, we've been doing them on Mondays. I've thought about switching it to post our episodes on Fridays. We'll keep you posted and let you know. But it'll be every 2 weeks, starting in April. That will be the beginning of season 2 of Airtime Traveler. So, for those of you that have been with us for all season 1, we appreciate it. And if this is your first time listening to Airtime Traveler, basically what we're doing here is we're diving into the history of individual roller coasters. So each episode we take one coaster and we talk all about the history of how that roller coaster came to be. I'm a coaster enthusiast and have been for a long time, and my wife Haley is a member of the GP, or the general public. So
the one that makes it fun.
She's here to make me more interesting. So
it works every time.
Yeah. So as far as news this week, the only thing I have to talk about, I showed this to you yesterday, but Six Flags Fiesta Texas announced a new roller coaster this week. They will be building, what do they call it? A spaghetti bowl. It's a single rail, dual racing family coaster.
Yep.
So it's a brand new prototype that was announced earlier this year, and it's the first one that's being built. It's being built by Skyline Attractions. Which Skyline's done a couple things that have been not received super well, but they also do work with GCI, and GCI, people love GCI. So I think it has potential to be super good. They just built a new roller coaster this year, and they're already getting a new one next year. So it's interesting to see that most of the Six Flags parks are getting nothing new right now, but Fiesta Texas is getting roller coasters in back-to-back years. So, anyway, they seem to be doing really well. So I'm excited to. That's a park that's really high on my wish list per se, bucket list to go and visit Six Flags Fiesta Texas. I'd love to go check that out. So,
well, you better not be kicking the bucket anytime soon. So I like wish list better than bucket list. I'm just saying.
Well, you can have a bucket list your whole life, even if you're 90. Like, you can still have a bucket list from 20 to 90. So.
All right.
So that's all the news I have to talk about this week. So I don't know if you have anything.
I mean, Disney World.
Yeah, we
not
just
roller coaster related, but they.
Yeah, we just got back from Disney World. So
and the day after we got back, they released the Tafiti.
Yeah, there's a big literally the day after we went to Epcot for the last time, they put in the 16-foot tall Tafiti sculpture, and so we barely missed getting to see that while we were there.
It would have been so cool.
Yeah, so.
I really wish we went and saw that.
We also picked up a new coaster credit. We got 2 rides on Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind while we were in Epcot.
And it was my first time on Barnstormer. I don't know if you knew that.
Oh, really? That was your first time on Barnstormer? Mm-hmm. So Haley got 2 new credits while we were at Disney World.
Yeah.
So we will be doing a Disney World trip report. We're probably going to do it with some members of my family that also went with us. So we'll have a lot of differing opinions, a lot of, it's a week-long trip, so we won't get to dive into everything. It would take forever to talk about everything.
And then we could talk about it forever.
Oh, we could talk about so much stuff. But we will be doing that, I think, fairly soon. Probably do that one before some of the other trip reports we do, just because I know my family's eager to come on the podcast and talk about it with us.
It would have been fun to do like each individual park, like Epcot,
do one at a time.
Magic Kingdom.
I've thought about doing it that way, and then also maybe everybody talk about their favorite food experience they had, and maybe their top 5 rides. Like, we might have to limit it a little bit just so that we can get everything in a 2-hour period. So
we have to.
I mean, it would be so hard to talk about everything. But anyway, so expect that to be coming in the next couple of weeks. And I think with that said, let's just jump into the topic for this week's episode. So today we're going to be talking about Vortex at Carowinds. Now, Haley did not get a chance to go with me to Carowinds this year, so she did not.
My brother did, though.
Yeah, so she didn't have an opportunity to ride this, but I did, and her brother did. So I'll be able to kind of give you what our thoughts were as we discussed after we got off the ride. But opened in 1992. It's a B&M stand-up coaster. So it's
I remember you talking to me about this one.
Yeah, I've talked to you a little bit about this one. So it's pretty short, only 2,040 feet in length. It's 90 feet tall, top speed of 50 miles per hour, and 2 inversions. So it's on the smaller side for steel coasters, but we'll get into why that is.
What blows my mind is you standing up, going upside down. I just can't imagine that feeling. Like,
It is so bizarre. This was the first.
I don't know if I'd like that.
This is the first stand-up coaster I've been on. There's only, we'll get into it right now, actually. This kind of rolls right into what we're going to talk about. So, in the CoasterBot rankings, it ranks at number 314 in the country. So,
not great.
Not great. This is definitely one of the worst rate. This is one of the coasters we have talked about so far that probably has the lowest opinion among enthusiasts. Like, not many enthusiasts actually enjoy this ride. One of only 4 remaining stand-up coasters in the country. There is one under construction right now, but the 4 and only 9 in the whole world. So there's hardly any stand-up coasters left. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the history of stand-up coasters as we go throughout the episode. But out of the 4 in the country, it ranks the worst. Riddler's Revenge at 142, Georgia Scorcher at 179, Green Lantern at 246, and then Vortex at 314. So at Carowinds, it ranks. So where does this fall? 6th. Yeah, 6th. So basically, kind of right in the middle of all the coasters there. So basically, it's more thrilling than some of the smaller ones, but it's more uncomfortable than some of the other ones. So it kind of just falls right in the middle. So, review of the name. What do you think about the name?
I mean, I guess it's cool.
It's fine.
It's just a coaster name.
Yeah, it's a,
I'm not a fan of the logo.
You don't like the logo?
It's got too much going on.
It's very 80s, isn't it?
Well, not only that, but like I just feel like there's way too many colors. Like,
oh yeah. Well, and so purple, yellow, and red, like that to me,
those are very clashing.
Just to me, that color scheme just screams 80s. Like that is just is very vibrant, very.
I feel like people should pick 2 colors, maybe 3. But this one has purple, white, yellow, and red.
Yeah, well, and just to play off of that, so here's the coaster here. Tell me what you don't see.
I don't see any purple.
There's no purple. Like, I don't know why the logo has purple in it, because the paint scheme of the ride has no purple in it. So I don't know what that decision was.
There's purple flowers on the ground.
We just like purple.
We like the purple.
That's my favorite color, so we threw that in there just because.
Oh my gosh.
But yeah, red, yellow, and so like the trains are black. So like red, yellow, and black.
I mean, black
that's
would have
fine.
not been too bad.
I don't know why the purple's in there. That's kind of an odd choice, but I like the paint scheme. It's fine. You know, it's typical. It's just red with light gray support
I feel
structure.
like a red is a very striking color for a coaster. Like,
I feel like red always looks good on a coaster.
It really does.
Yeah, it's like a very, very classic color. So, the trains, I think they look fine. They're nothing special, but they're not horrible. I mean,
I like.
See, and look, this Vortex logo. This Vortex logo here doesn't have the purple in it.
That's weird.
So that looks fine, but I don't know why the other one has purple in it.
That's really weird.
It is very weird. So
I like the over the head restraints. I like this picture though.
It's a cool picture, right?
Yeah.
I wish I could give credit to the picture.
Looks like
I don't
floating.
know who's this logo. So anyway, cool picture. Yeah, I like the trains. Well, we'll get into how comfortable the trains are. I like the way the trains look.
I like.
So.
Yeah.
Here's the description from the park. Vortex opened to much anticipation in 1992 due to its unconventional stand-up trains. This ride is a longtime favorite among park visitors and roller coaster enthusiasts alike. This just talks about the actual ride experience, which we'll talk about in a second. Vortex is a classic and evokes a sense of nostalgia in many of our seasoned park goers. It's also known for its nice views of the park, as well as its jolting twists and turns. If you're looking for great video and photo opportunities, check out the area behind 3 Point Challenge at Carolina Sky Tower near the Celebration Plaza section of the park. I thought that was kind of interesting that they threw in like hey, if you want a better photo op of the ride, go and check out this spot.
Screams something that you would do. So.
Right? I saw that and I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. I wish more parks would do that. So anyway, and then there's the purple again. So I don't know. For some reason, they like throwing that purple in there, but
they added black though on that one too.
Yeah, this one's got black and purple, so now we've got 5 colors on this one.
Too bad,
it's like black, purple, yellow, red, white. Like, got all kinds of things going on now. Anyway,
I like how it says that it is known for its nice views of the park. I don't go on a coaster to get a view of the park. I go on it for the thrill.
Yeah, I do enjoy a coaster that gives you a good view of the park, but like
to put
if it does,
in the description,
if it doesn't, I'm not going to say, well, man, that coaster's got a terrible view of the park. Most coasters give you a pretty good view of everything around. That's the. Anyway.
And this one has a good view of a tree.
Yeah,
and this one has a good view of our man-built pond.
This one's got a good view of the parking lot.
I know, what's the one in King's? I think it was King's
Dominator. That's right there by the parking lot.
Yeah, you get a great view of all the cars.
At Carowinds, there's a coaster called Afterburn. It's their inverted coaster, and the lift hill goes straight at the parking lot, and then it turns around, and the rest of the coaster's like back over here. But like you just go up, and like as you get to the top of the lift hill, it's just like parking lot.
Oh,
you're like, whoa, great view.
I paid good money to get that view, man. I want to see all them cars.
Mm-hmm. So maybe they put that down in the description because they're comparing it to the view of that you get on Afterburn, just the parking lot.
It's making up for it.
I guess so. All right, everyone's favorite customer reviews.
Let's go.
We got some spicy ones today because
Of course we do.
people don't like this coaster very much. So 1 star. Why? This ride is just painful. There's absolutely no fun on this ride. I don't enjoy stand-up coasters, but this is by far the worst stand-up coaster I've ever been on. Don't ride it unless you want to throw up or get a headache. Whoa. Okay.
Number 1. Why is with a question mark, not an exclamation point?
Just why?
Get your grammar right.
1 star. Would not recommend if you are usually afraid of roller coasters. Bangs your head a lot. I almost passed out because of the height. That I don't understand what that's saying because it's only it's really not that tall of a coaster. And the upside down loops on this ride, and the seats are uncomfortable. Your feet don't really touch the ground that well. Shakes some. I had a seizure trying to read this review. There's so much going on here. 1 star. One of the worst coasters I've ever ridden. The headbanging left us with a headache. Remove it and along with Nighthawk and replace it with something more worthwhile. Nighthawk is like right over by it, so some people say just remove both of them and put something bigger like in the spot where both of them are. 1 star. The most painful roller coaster feels like you're put into a glass jar and shook. Not enjoyable.
Glass jar would break.
I don't know what the specific...
Why a glass jar? What about a plastic one?
Yeah, I don't know why they had to get so specific with glass jar, but...
They're being materialist.
I guess so.
Don't be materialist.
This one...
All materials need love.
1 star. When you ride your head...
Completely ignoring me. Like you're dumb.
1 star. First of all, this guy's name is Jymon. Jymon.
It's probably Haman. Because maybe it's.
I guess. I don't. Anyway.
I mean, J sometimes is with an H.
Yeah, maybe. Anyway, 1 star. When you ride your head, bang the whole ride.
Head banging.
Okay.
Rock on.
2 stars. It's definitely not a great experience, but it's a unique experience. Not many of these B&M stand-up coasters exist, probably for good reason, but it's worth trying at least once. Make sure to bend your knees a good amount, blah, blah. You know, you get some tips on how to enjoy it better.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so.
Thanks for the tip.
2 stars. Wow, this was a great experience as it was my first stand-up coaster. First of all, that is not the sentence you typically hear at the start of a 2-star review. Although it involves lots of headbanging. The seats are just so uncomfortable. They're basically bicycle seats, but you're standing up. So weird, all in caps. This ride is very rough and gives you a headache. Ugh. However, B&M's other rides were a great success. This review is a roller coaster in and of itself. Vortex still was a very fun ride, so be sure to ride it if you're okay with a little bit of headbanging. Plus, I rated Vortex 2 stars just because it could have been a lot better.
They were just
trying
to be nice. They were like, here, I feel bad.
They're trying to sugarcoat the heck out of this review.
You get 2 stars instead of 1.
Oh my gosh. 2 stars. This is a very good coaster. I only rode it once to get the credit, but I don't plan on riding it again. What is happening with these reviews that, like, none of what the people are saying match the actual amount of stars that they gave on their review?
You don't know those people's feelings.
They said it's a very good coaster. 2 stars. That doesn't make any sense.
They're like, well, a coaster is only a 2-star coaster.
I guess.
A freaking awesome, excellent coaster is 5 stars.
I guess. It's very weighted.
You don't know the way they rate their Don't judge them on how they judge their coasters. Don't judge on judging.
Well, what else are we going to... That's what makes these customer reviews funny.
Oh, okay.
3 stars. Not a fan of stand-up coasters. This one is somewhat better than the best. Hold up. Something cannot be better than the best. That makes it the best. I think he meant to say better than the rest. But... I can't be sure. This one is somewhat better than the best. Okay. 4 stars. Wonderful roller coaster. However, it beats your head around if you're toward the back. A little hard to get into considering the seats are so high up, and the seat they give you is extremely uncomfortable. I completely concur with this review. The seats are like basically when you get up there, the way it works is, so they have the restraints that are up, and then there's like a seat that adjusts up and down based on how tall you are. So the way you get in is like you have to get up on the seat, and then like the seat will kind of adjust and then lock into place once you're So like you'll like get on the seat and then like get adjusted and then pull down the restraints. And then once all that's done, they'll like lock it into place so that the seat stays where it is. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Well, since the seat adjusts from up to down, you have to like kind of pull yourself up onto the seat and then like...
So it's not made for fun-sized people.
No.
I would hate this guy.
Yeah. Well, once you got onto the seat, then it's fine. It adjusts to your height. But like getting to that point is difficult.
I would just be embarrassed trying to climb up on that thing and be like, yeah, so I'm sure. I get it. Like, sorry. Fun-sized person over here.
4 stars. As soon as I went out of the first loop, I felt tunnel vision, and after the ride, I had a headache. Still awesome, though.
Oh, okay.
Again,
I have tunnel vision looking at that.
The grammar on these reviews, man. 4 stars. Excellent roller coaster. Top 6th coaster at Carowinds.
That one's funny.
Top 6 roller coaster Carowinds. You know, out of the 13 they have. Top 6. Wow. Impressive. 5 stars. Another oldie but goodie. It's not on here to rate, but go ride the Fury 325. It's amazing. So he took the opportunity to give this coaster a 5-star rating because he liked another coaster a lot. You nothing to say about that?
No.
Okay.
Speechless.
5 stars. I haven't ridden it, but I'm sure it's fun.
Okay, this is the best review I think I've ever seen.
What in the world is this? I haven't ridden it, but I'm sure it's fun.
I'm gonna do this now. I'm gonna be
just go on. What? Why do some people just feel it in their heart of hearts to like...
I'm gonna give this a 5-star review.
Well, this person has only done 2 reviews. So that means one of their 2 reviews is literally something they've never done before. I'm so confused.
That's really funny.
I don't understand. Oh my gosh. Oh, that was the last one. That's a good one to end on. So that's hilarious. I haven't ridden it, but I'm sure it's fun. 5 stars. Okay. So there's some customer reviews. That's Vortex. Let's talk about the history of Vortex. So let's go back to 1983. All right, 1983. So we're going to start today's story at Kings Island. So apparently, Kings Island considered, based on when you go back, you could consider 1984 was the 100th anniversary of the first American roller coaster. So Scenic Railway, I don't remember if that was at Cedar Point or somewhere else, opened in 1884. That was kind of considered America's first quote-unquote roller coaster. So Kings Island was like, we need to build something groundbreaking for 1984 to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the roller coaster in the United States. So in 1984, they would construct King Cobra. So this is King Cobra. And it was the world's first ground-up stand-up coaster. So there had been coasters that were built as sit-down coasters and then converted to stand-up coasters. But this was the first roller coaster built that was just like first stand-up coaster built that way. And I believe it was the first stand-up coaster period in the United States. So something completely unique had never been done in the country. So it was quite groundbreaking. It was 95 feet tall, 50 miles per hour, and just had the one inversion that you see here. It just had this vertical loop, and then it made some turns. Airtime hill here on the other side. So, it was constructed by Togo. Now, do you remember us talking about Togo in a previous episode?
A little bit, yeah.
Do you remember which episode it was?
Nope.
So we talked about it when we did our Accelerator episode. Togo was the one that constructed the Windjammer surf racers that were just a colossal failure. And Knott's Berry Farm ended up suing Togo because the ride was just total garbage. Couldn't even run in the wind, even though it's called Windjammer. You remember that now?
Yes.
So that was Togo. So that was Togo in like the late 90s, though. So we're talking early 80s. This was, I believe, Togo's first coaster that they built in the United States. So this was kind of their entry into the U.S. market. It was the first stand-up coaster. So a lot of firsts happening in the industry. And it was initially really popular. It was, like I said, it was groundbreaking and kind of became a sensation in the 80s of like stand-up coasters became like the new thing. And so parks, like if you wanted, this was like the RMC of, you know, the 80s was like, oh, you got to have a stand-up coaster. That's like the new thing. That was what was really popular. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So Taft Broadcasting, which we've talked about before, was the ones that constructed and owned Kings Island. And they also owned 4 other parks. Well, after King Cobra's success, they were like, well, why don't we just put stand-up coasters in all of our parks? So after King Cobra, they would build 2 more stand-up coasters, also by Togo. So they would start by building Skyrider at Canada's Wonderland. This was in 1985. Almost exactly the same as King Cobra at Kings Island. They're almost identical in their layout and all that. But then the next year at King's Dominion, they would build Shockwave. And this one was a little bit different. I think, if I remember correctly, it had an extra airtime hill at the end of the ride. So fairly similar, but it did have a slightly different layout than the other 2. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't long before these rides would have issues, as we've talked about with Togo. They had lots of problems with Windjammer. So guests still loved them, though. Like, they were still really popular. Lots of people were riding them. It just started having technical issues and started having problems. So at this point, Taft wanted to build a stand-up coaster at the other 2 parks that they hadn't done yet, which is California's Great America and Carowinds. So those 2 parks, they wanted to build a stand-up coaster, but they were kind of iffy on if they wanted to keep moving forward with Togo. So they're like, why don't we look at a different manufacturer? So as this is going on, Six Flags is also getting into the stand-up coaster game. But they decided to try a manufacturer that was brand new in the industry. So let's kind of shift gears, and we're going to talk about the start of B&M, which we've talked about B&M a lot before, but we haven't really talked about how they got started. So this is Walter Bolliger and Claude Mabillard. So they're from Switzerland. They worked for a company called Giovanola, which is kind of they've done some big projects, like they did Goliath at Six Flags Magic Mountain, and what else? They did Titan at Six Flags Over Texas. So they've done some projects that are kind of big, but nothing like some of the other companies. So they worked at Giovanola, who helped Intamin with projects in the 70s. They also helped design Shockwave at Six Flags Magic Mountain, which this is also a stand-up coaster. This one's a lot more substantial than the other ones that Togo was doing.
It looks intense.
Yeah, this one's pretty crazy. But this one was built by Giovanola, so they helped design this one. But after a management change at Giovanola in 1987, Bolliger and Mabillard decided to leave and form their own company called B&M. So they originally formed this company. They weren't even planning on doing amusement rides. They were like, we're going to get out of the amusement industry. We'll do steel manufacturing. Yeah, I don't know. They were both engineers, so they just we'll do whatever.
Yeah.
But after they left, the manager of Six Flags Great America was so impressed with their work on this ride that he was basically like, come on, guys, can you do something like this for Six Flags Great America? And so they were kind of like, You know what? Well, sure, we'll do a roller coaster, and so they would end up doing Iron Wolf for. Oh, here's the B&M logo. They would end up creating Iron Wolf at Six Flags Great America in 1990. So this was B&M's very first roller coaster, and still operates to this day. But we will talk about that it is different nowadays than it was when it opened. But we'll get to that. So this was another stand-up coaster, very similar to what they had done with Giovanola for Six Flags Magic Mountain. Since they were the ones that kind of designed that one, they basically just took their own design and, did it with their own company now. Yeah. So very similar, but this is now B&M's very first coaster that they did by themselves. Okay? Mm-hmm. So this must have caught somebody's eye at Taft Broadcasting, because as they were making this change to say, why don't we move from Togo to someone else, this ride opens. And so the two kind of fit perfectly. And so Taft Broadcasting says, hey, can you do some stand-up coasters for us? So the first one they do is Vortex, but not at Carowinds. Vortex at California's Great America. So
There's the purple.
There's the purple. Yeah, I know, right? But this one is a different logo. Look, this one's like
weird.
Yeah, this is like almost like I don't know what that.
Graffiti?
Yeah. Thank you. It's almost like a graffiti logo.
This is why I'm here. This is why.
I know you're here to help me.
Here to help you talk.
Yes. I like this paint scheme, though. The purple and the yellow looks decent, so...
Phantom was that color, I feel like, at one point at Kennywood.
I don't know.
I thought they were purple and yellow, maybe. But I might be wrong.
So, not clever with the naming here, because we're going to... Clearly, we're going to have two vortexes in this story, so that's not complicated. But this one was 1,920 feet, 91 feet tall, 45 miles per hour, and two inversions. And people considered, so these two stand-ups now that B&M has done, people considered them a vast improvement over the Togo versions. They just said these were way smoother. And like, not only that, but you could seat 4 across instead of the Togo ones where it was only 2 across. So your capacity was basically doubled.
Yeah.
And people enjoyed it more. So it was just a way better product. More expensive, but it was a better product. So now that takes us to Carowinds. So this has all been happening. 4 of the 5 Taft Broadcasting parks now have a stand-up coaster. Now Carowinds gets their turn. So opening day, Carowinds had a miniature car ride that was called Carolina Speedway. So here's the little Carolina Speedway. Reminds me of Tomorrowland Speedway at Disney World. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's obviously much smaller. There's not multiple lanes, but they were gas-powered cars. The bumpers on them actually look the same as Tomorrowland. So I'm curious if it may have even been the same manufacturer. But these are the only 2 pictures I can find of the ride, and that's basically all I know about it. So not a lot of people talked about it, but definitely was there. I guess at some point they changed the name to Carolina Turnpike, so it was that. Also, someone pointed this out. The monorail station was on top of the station for this ride. So that's kind of cool. There must have been like a line to the monorail and then a line underneath to the cars. So they kind of shared the same station building. So that's clever.
Good use of space.
Yeah, good use of space. So that was good design there. In 1980, Carowinds would open Carolina Cyclone, which is still at the park today. That broke the inversion record with 4 inversions. So Carowinds was, on the map in the 80s leading up to these stand-up coasters that were opening at the other parks. And I just wanted to point out this, as I pulled up this picture, I was... Look at
that poor person.
She looks
she will forever
terrified.
No, as the terrified person on the coaster.
She's terrified.
She's like, get me off this thing right now.
And then the person behind her looks like she's doing some philosophical thinking.
I know. She's
like her lips are pursed. She's just like, she's looking up and to the right, almost like if she's like...
She saw an angel.
She's like, what do I think about this?
Her life is flashing before her eyes.
What do I think
she's
about
thinking
this,
about it. Okay.
Anyway, I just noticed that when I pulled that picture up, I was like, that's funny. I gotta talk about that. So then, after Carolina Cyclone opens in 1980, they just don't open any new coasters after that. Like, they go a whole rest of the 80s without building a new roller coaster. So that's kind of where we're sitting now. And so Carowinds has been seeing these other stand-ups open at all the other parks. And so they're kind of, I would imagine the park manager at that point was anxious to get their stand-up coaster. So after all that time, and after adding a stand-up to all 4 of their other parks, on August 16th, 1991, Carowinds announced Vortex. So
Vortex 2.
Vortex 2. So slightly larger and slightly faster than than Vortex at California's Great America. So and the layout was different. So like I know the one at California's Great America, like there's a part that goes through the loop, and this one doesn't do that. So completely unique layout. Something that hadn't been done at all the other parks. It wasn't a clone. It was completely new. Let's see, got a couple articles to read here. Got a lot from newspapers today, just because there wasn't like a lot of stuff in recent news about this ride. So I had to pull a lot of stuff from back when this was announced. So here's one of the announcements. They called it a super coaster in the article. I thought that was kind of odd. Riders standing up will be taken by the Vortex through a one-of-a-kind track configuration that includes a vertical loop, an oblique loop. I have no idea what that is. I'm guessing a corkscrew, I'm guessing is what they're trying to say. A unique carousel formation, a B&M flat spin, and through a series of lifts and drops before bringing them back to the loading station. Whoa. The Vortex will be the first new roller coaster at Carowinds since the park had its Carolina Cyclone in 1980. So, just like we talked about. Here's another article. I thought this was funny. If you get caught standing up on the Carolina Cyclone roller coaster, you're unceremoniously thrown out of Carowinds amusement park for a year. I don't know why it's a year. I don't know why that was the decision that was made, but they're all right, unceremoniously thrown out. But next March, when Carowinds opens the new $5.5 million Vortex roller coaster, most expensive ride built at the North Carolina-South Carolina border park, you are not only encouraged to stand up, you have to. Enthusiasts say stand-up coasters are the biggest thing in amusement park ride technology since 1884. I don't think any enthusiast was saying that in 1991, that stand-up roller coasters was the biggest thing in amusement park technology since the coaster was invented. I think that's a little ambitious to claim that.
A little bit.
On a stand-up roller coaster, your center of gravity is raised from the seat of your pants nearer to your heart. Which is true. It's kind of a weird experience that, like, as you're going through the ride, like, typically when you're going through a loop, like, you feel kind of all of the forces down here, where on a stand-up coaster, you feel it, like, almost up here. Oh, it is it's a weird sensation. So, let's see. The multiple articles I found were calling it an extra wide stand-up coaster, I guess because it was 4 across seating instead of 2 across.
Oh, weird.
And it kind of got me thinking that before B&M came, I don't know that there was any roller coasters that had 4 across seating.
Weird.
I've been trying to think, and I can't find that for certain. I didn't have enough time to really dive into that. But just going through my head, I can't think of any coasters before 1990 when B&M started doing stuff that had 4 across seating. So I think that's why they're specifying extra wide coaster, because this was like something that was unheard of to have 4 across seating on a roller coaster. It was pretty much unheard of at this point. This phrase here, it's the Cadillac of stand-up roller coasters, said Scott Rutherford, an ACE member from Charlotte. So that is a way to look at it. Like, these B&M coasters are way more expensive than most of the other coasters in the industry, but you get a better product. And B&M has only had 2 roller coasters torn down since they started in 1990. So 32 years of roller coasters, only 2 have been torn down.
That's pretty crazy.
It's pretty impressive, yeah. So they definitely hold up to the stand up to the test of time. So Passengers will be propped up by a saddle seat and held in position by a shoulder restraint system that is adjustable to the height and girth of the rider.
No, please don't ever put the word girth in a freaking news article.
It's safe. Okay, and then this is the most ridiculous part of this article. This guy talks about how people are scared of roller coasters. He says it's not dangerous as long as you obey the rules. It's safer than playing billiards, he said. That is false. And also, just a weird sentence. Like, well, I don't know if this guy is also a billiards enthusiast, but I don't know.
Apparently. What are you into? Coasters and billiards?
Coasters and billiards. It's safer than playing billiards, he said. All right, that's bizarre. Okay, so those are 2 articles. This was kind of interesting, too. They talk about, in this article, that the Vortex was on the drawing board for 8 months in the offices of Bollinger and Mabillard. So not only, after Carowinds had finally decided on the manufacturer they wanted to go with, it was still like 8 months of planning and designing and, working on it before it was even announced. So, it was announced in August. That means January they were starting the process of planning this coaster before. So I just thought that was kind of interesting how long these coasters are planned and, they're going through the design process before we even know about them. So it's impressive they're able to keep secrets like that for that long.
It makes me think how long, Disney's got stuff under their...
Well, I mean, it takes them 5 years to construct rides, so, it probably takes have them planned for 10, 15 years.
Something like that.
They're working on stuff now.
Let's just be honest. Walt Disney planned everything, but he's just like, you guys can't announce this till after I'm long gone.
Everything that's built at Disney was a Walt Disney idea, and they're just using them. Oh, that's funny.
Sorry,
You made yourself laugh, so you cough.
Good on you, Disney. Good on you.
So they decided to go with B&M. So apparently they were satisfied with their work at California's Great America. So Carowinds, they decided to stick with B&M rather than going back to Togo, which ended up being a really good decision, and we'll get into why. So construction would begin in September of 1992 and was planned for completion in January of 1993. I know you liked last time we talked about the construction materials for Mystic Timbers. I found those for Vortex as well. So you ready?
Mm-hmm.
411,000 pounds of steel.
That's a lot of steel.
That's a lot of steel.
Thank you, Pittsburgh.
Probably. 931 cubic yards of concrete and 109 columns. So, the support columns, there's 109 of them.
That's a lot.
It really got me thinking, you usually don't really pay attention to those. You're just kind of paying attention to the actual track.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a pretty small coaster, and it has 109, so it got me thinking, some of those other ones...
start counting the columns now?
I'm not going to count them, because that's way too many. But I am curious now, some of the bigger coasters, how many columns those must have. So, that was interesting. $5.5 million. It was the most expensive Carowinds investment to date. This is kind of interesting. I don't know why this was, but pieces were shipped to the park unpainted, and then Carowinds was the one that painted the pieces before assembly. So, I don't know if... I doubt that's how it works today. So I'm guessing maybe because B&M was fairly new, I wonder if they didn't have a paint shop yet.
Weird.
And so at this point, they were just doing the steel production and design, and then they would just ship off the pieces to be painted. And nowadays...
Or Carowinds didn't make up their mind on what the paint scheme was.
And maybe they just wanted to paint it themselves. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I've never heard of that before. And I know B&M doesn't do that now, so... kind of an odd thing. Carolina Turnpike was removed to make room for the new coaster, so that's why we talked about Carolina Turnpike earlier. That's what used to be in Vortex's spot, and then they removed it and put it there. Hype for the ride was really high. There was a lot of enthusiasts that were talking about this. Here's some construction photos here. It's pretty much the only construction photos I could find, and these are just from newspapers. That's why they're black and white. But here's an article talking about kind of the hype for the ride. The one thing that was interesting to me here is Carowinds was projecting an 11.2% increase in visitors for 1992 based on the roller coaster. So they anticipated getting to 1.4 million visitors, which they were 8%. Attendance was down 8% in 1991, the year before. So the attendance was going down. So they're kind of trying to get it to go back up at that point. So this is from the public relations manager for the park. She said, "A coaster generates a great deal of excitement. This puts us on the map as far as roller coasters are concerned. It's definitely the roller coaster to have." So, like I said, the RMC of the 1980s, like RMC is the coaster to have nowadays. In this time frame, the late 80s to early 90s, this is what people wanted. This was
know what I was thinking about?
What's that?
It'd be really cool to meet some coaster enthusiasts that have been around for a lot of these.
That'd be coaster enthusiasts for a long time. Mm-hmm. To have experienced what's the industry like now versus what it was in the 80s and 90s.
I bet we could find someone.
Oh, I'm sure. I know there was this guy I was reading about, I think last year, that he passed away. He was in his 70s or 80s. He had over 1,000 coaster credits worldwide.
That's crazy.
That's insane. But I mean, you can do that. There's tons of roller coasters over in Europe and Asia.
Are you gonna beat him?
Oh man, that would be so hard and so expensive. He was like an actual writer and media. He basically worked in doing journalism for amusement parks.
You're in the wrong, field of work there, Nathan.
This is a hobby for me, not a job. I would do it as a job, but I'm better at other things than journalism. So it makes sense for this to be a hobby for me. But I would love to ride over 1,000 coasters if financially that was ever possible.
Yeah, if the opportunity arose.
The other thing they mentioned here, the coaster's fire red rails will make it easy to spot in the Carolina Showplace section of the park. So it seems like they purposely picked that red paint job to make it stand out and kind of be a centerpiece to the park almost, which it is basically right in the middle of the park, actually. So let's see. After a few months, media previews would begin on March 4th. So here's an article from someone that was kind of at the preview event. Not a whole lot to talk about here, mostly stuff we've already talked about, but I found these quotes really funny. Said, "I don't like coasters that hurt me," said 55-year-old Uberoth, who says he's ridden 313 roller coasters. "It's a very smooth ride." And then he also says down here, "I can't think of anything that would add to the ride except having one about 5 miles from my house in Baltimore." Okay, yeah. I would like this ride more if it was in my backyard.
One way to look at it. Like a roller coaster more if it was in their
yard? Exclusive preview for season pass holders took place on March 13th, which that's cool. I would love if Silver Dollar City was opening something and gave an exclusive preview to season pass holders. That would be really cool. And then Vortex would open to the public on March 14th, 1992, and continues to operate to this day. So here's some pictures from early on in its life. So the paint scheme, you'll notice this paint scheme is different than what it has now. We'll talk about that later. When it opened, so it had this red paint scheme, but it had gold rails on it, which is really cool. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
And then the black support structure. So the ride experience is as follows. After leaving the station, the train climbs the 90-foot chain lift hill. At the top, it drops, has a small pre-drop, and then drops 80 feet to the right, reaching 50 miles per hour as it dives underneath the monorail. The monorail is actually no longer there, so that's something that's different between now and when it first opened. Following the drop, riders head straight into a vertical loop before hitting a right-handed upward curve. The train then takes a downward turn to the left and enters an upward helix. Riders approach a small drop before sailing through the corkscrew. After the corkscrew, the train goes through a figure-8 turn followed by a left turn into the final brake run. So a fairly short ride. Like I said, it's only about 2,000 feet compared to, like a Cosmic Rewind we went on this week that's over a mile long. So
that's insane.
It's crazy. We'll talk about Cosmic Rewind in our trip report, but it was awesome.
Just so everybody knows, Nathan is not letting me know his Cosmic Rewind.
I've told her how I feel about it, but I'm not giving her my rankings of my Disney rides until we do our trip report.
Fair.
It's a surprise. Okay, look at this picture, man. That is
thing of nightmares.
That is terrifying. They have a picture. So this is like the special deal that they did. Vortex Carowinds did with Wendy's, where like if you went to Wendy's and bought $4. Oh, let's see. What is this? Come to participating Wendy's and get coupons good for $4 off Carowinds general admission. So if you bought some Wendy's, you'd get some $4 off your tickets to Carowinds.
I mean, I've seen stuff like that before. So
I like this. Can you stand this offer?
That's a Nathan joke.
Yeah, it is. But then the picture they have of this guy next to that is just terrifying. It's all blurry and his eyes are kind of blurred out and like he's open. This is a scary image. Anyway, has this quote with it. The Vortex has all of the features that connoisseurs of steel coasters look for. A disorienting storm of loops and eddies. An upward helix that will put you on your side. And a corkscrew-like element guaranteed to turn your head over heels, all while standing up.
Okay.
By the way, that's by the same guy that said he wanted it 5 miles from his house, so apparently he wants to be a journalist too. Coaster was well received by enthusiasts who called it fun and, like I said, insanely smooth. People were just constantly going on about how smooth it was. And
so what changed? Why is it not smooth anymore?
Well, let's get into it.
Okay.
So Vortex, what's happened since then? What's happened since 1992 when this thing opens? So Vortex would be the last coaster constructed by Taft before they sold their 5 parks to Paramount in late 1992. So now it becomes Paramount's Carowinds, Paramount's Kings Island, etc., etc. What happened to all the other stand-ups that we talked about early on? Well, Togo goes out of business in 2001 following the miserable failure of Windjammer Surf Racers, which we talked about in episode 7. So this is interesting how this is kind of connected, which Knott's Berry Farm was also part of the Cedar Fair chain at this point. So it's all connected at this point. So Togo goes out of business. That's a problem for Kings Island, Kings Dominion, and Canada's Wonderland because now they can't get spare parts for their stand-up coasters. So in 2001, Kings Island would close King Cobra, and that would become basically they would use that as spare parts for the other 2 stand-up coasters at Kings Dominion and Canada's Wonderland. And then the plot that King Cobra used to sit in is now partially taken up by Delirium. I don't know if you remember. That's that big swinging ride that like it spins as it swings.
The throw-up ride. Yeah, got it. Okay, cool.
Right over by Banshee. So that's where King Cobra used to sit, is where Delirium is. But that was before Banshee was there too, so it was kind of like the only roller coaster over there. Well, I guess the Bat was over there, and Son of Beast was there for a little bit. Anyway, so that's where King Cobra was. Shockwave and Skyrider at Kings Dominion Canada's Wonderland, since they had spare parts from King Cobra, they were able to stay open a little bit longer. Shockwave would close in 2015. Funny enough, that plot is also taken up by Kings Dominion's Delirium. So I don't know if that was planned, but both of Kings Island and Kings Dominion's stand-up coasters were taken down and replaced by Delirium.
Spinning throw-up ride.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's kind of a weird coincidence, but
I am curious on how many coaster enthusiasts are also like other ride enthusiasts.
I will tell you, just based on what I see in my conversations with other coaster enthusiasts, we're kind of the odd ones out as far as enjoying coasters but not flat rides.
I feel like I get so sick on the other flat rides.
I enjoy some flat rides, but not spinning flat rides. Spinning flat rides are not for me.
No.
So,
I remember there's a spider ride, like at Idlewild. I got so sick on it.
Yeah, I don't do spinning flat rides. But like Now that I've got like things that help with my motion sickness, I've thought about trying the Screamin' Swing again, like the giant barn swing at Silver Dollar City.
Oh yeah.
I've thought about trying that again with my motion
they're not
sickness
too
stuff.
bad.
And see, yeah.
Swinging rides aren't too bad for me.
See, I have a lot of fun on them. They just made me nauseous.
The
But
swings at Silver Dollar City, like the one that I went on with Parker.
oh, the chair swing.
Yeah, the one that he really liked. Yeah.
See, I can't do those either.
Yeah, those.
They're not horrible, but like I don't love them enough to get on them, if that makes sense. So, or like the discus rides, like Electro Spin at Silver Dollar City. Ugh, that makes me sick.
Yeah.
Anyway. Skyrider at Canada's Wonderland would also close. That one would close in 2014 and was replaced by Yukon Striker in 2019. So that one did not get a Delirium replacement. That one was different. Interestingly enough, Skyrider is the only coaster to ever be closed at Canada's Wonderland in the 43 years they've been open. So they are building, I think they're building their 18th roller coaster right now.
A lot.
That's a lot. And they've only
Canada's
closed.
Wonderland? Where's that at again?
It's actually not far from Pittsburgh. It's basically like.
I was gonna say.
I can't remember if it's in Toronto, but it's basically like. I mean, it's not far from Niagara Falls, basically. That's the best way I'll put it. So,
like
which
4-ish, 5-ish hours.
Yeah, it's within
not
driving
bad.
distance of where you're from. So, I've definitely thought about going there at some point. So, I would love to
We'd
go.
have to get like a passport to go, but
Oh yeah, I think our passports are expired, aren't they? Anyway,
well,
I think mine is. I don't know about yours.
mine has my previous last name.
Oh,
on
it has your maiden name on it.
and
That's
Parker
right.
doesn't have one.
That is true.
So we would have to all get new passports.
So,
But we've talked about doing.
yeah, we'll be doing Dollywood and Kentucky Kingdom next year.
I'm just
so.
saying we need passports anyways.
Oh, we do. Yeah, we do for other trips that we've talked about doing. So, B&M stand-ups, however, because B&M's still in business, they're able to keep those running. But the stand-ups have really, they've gone out of style. Like they just, I don't. And this is where I'll talk about my experience with Vortex. I enjoyed it more than most coaster enthusiasts. I did not hate it. I didn't love it. Like, it wasn't like, whoa, this is like top 10 or top 50 even. But I would ride it again. Most coaster enthusiasts are like, okay, I wrote it. I got the credit. I'm done.
Yeah.
I will. If I go to Carowinds, I'll ride it again. Like, I didn't hate it. Is it uncomfortable? Yeah, slightly. I think the bigger you are...
Is it Skyrush at Hershey Park?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like that one because of how uncomfortable it was, but I would get on it again.
Yeah, I agree. So, like, it just has to be, like... It was a level of uncomfortable that I'm like, I wish it was more comfortable, but, like, it won't... Like, the thrill outweighs the discomfort, if that makes sense. So... I think the bigger you are, whether it's like you're heavier set or if you're taller,
like Colin,
like your brother, that will also impact because your brother hated it.
Well, he's also like 6'4" or something.
Yeah,
like
6'4", I
that.
think. So he hated it. He would never ride it again. So, yeah, it definitely is a polarizing coaster. Probably more so on the negative side than the positive side, but. And I don't know why that is. I don't know if just the way people's bodies are built is different. So the restraints are outdated and uncomfortable. And so that's kind of why stand-up coasters have faded out.
Mm-hmm.
Stand-up coaster, it's a weird thing because so next year there's going to be the first stand-up coaster opening, I think since the 1990s was the last time there was a new one built.
Weird.
But this one, it's also being built by B&M, but they're trying a new concept, which I've showed you this concept where you'll sit down, but the seats will have it has a suspension in it. It's being at SeaWorld Orlando, Pipeline the Surf Coaster. So I'm really curious how that's going to go. If it's going to be a smashing success or a colossal failure. I really don't know. I'm hopefully optimistic, probably more optimistic than most enthusiasts are.
Yeah.
Just based on other people's experience with stand-up coasters. But so anyway, we could have a whole episode talking about the history of stand-up coasters. But I'll wrap it up to say that that's just kind of what's happened to Vortex. It's become bumpier over the years, and people just don't like stand-ups as much as they used to. Maybe they'll come back into style with Pipeline. But a lot of stand-up coasters have actually been, because rather than being torn down, some of them have been converted into floorless coasters. So both Iron Wolf and what was the other one? Vortex at California's Great America. Both of those have since been converted into floorless coasters.
Did Vortex get a new name?
They actually both have a new name. So now Iron Wolf is now known as Firebird at California, or at Six Flags Great America, and Vortex is now known as Patriot over at California's Great America. Both of them got new paint schemes and everything. This was also the case with Rougarou at Cedar Point. That one actually opened as a stand-up coaster. It was called Mantis when it opened, and then was converted into a floorless coaster later. So, all that being said, Vortex is actually the only stand-up coaster in the Cedar Fair chain now, because 3 were torn down and 1 was converted into a floorless coaster. So now, Vortex is the last. Well, and then Cedar Points was converted to a floorless coaster. So now, Vortex is the only stand-up coaster in the Cedar Fair chain. The other 3 are all Six Flags coasters, and they are all newer than Vortex. So Vortex is also the oldest stand-up coaster in the country. So it makes sense why it's the least liked of the 4 that are in the country, because it is the oldest, probably the roughest, probably the smallest and slowest. So, let's see. A report came out in 1996 that I found. This was kind of interesting. I don't know why this is even in the newspaper, but this is a report of all the injuries that took place at Carowinds between 1988 and 1996. So, injuries that require more than routine first aid must be reported to officials in both North and South Carolina, and then this is all the incidents that happened between that time frame. So, Vortex had 5 incidents in that time frame. In April 92, a woman sprains her foot when her feet come down too hard after she rides with them dangling. So they tell you when you're on the ride, don't lift your feet up. Like, keep your feet planted on the ground. So, like, you're not supposed to, like, sit in your seat and, like, hold your feet up. So that's kind of her fault for doing that.
Yeah.
And then May 1992, a man treated for a groin injury when his weight shifts and he rides with feet dangling. So, but again, it's his own fault for, not riding it properly. August 1993, woman treated for perforated eardrum caused by hitting her head against the shoulder restraint. Holy cow. Ouch. That's something. October 1993, man treated for ear injury resulting from his head hitting the padded section forcefully. And then June 1994, woman breaks right hand tripping on flooring. So that's just kind of a freak accident. So anyway, there's a bunch of these that are kind of weird. Hurler, woman bruises skull hitting her head on car going into a turn. July 94, boy gets stitches in back of head after a friend bumps into him rounding a curve. What? Wow. He hit his friend's head so hard he had to get stitches? Good gracious. Boy's tooth chipped when ride's abrupt stop throws him against the seat in front of him. Oh, these are quite the thing. Wow. Anyway, we're not going to read all of these, but I just wanted to read those Vortex ones. So it looks like even though it was smooth, it did have some issues. Like, it seems like people were still having some headbanging even in the early years of the ride's opening. So let's see. Let's talk about the repaint really quick. So here's what it looked like when it was first opened, with the gold rails and the black support structure. This is what it looks like nowadays. Completely red with the light gray white support structure. So not totally different, but it is different. So this happened in 2011 is when they repainted it with this new paint scheme. I don't exactly know why. I kind of like the old one better. The old one's unique. I've never seen like that gold bronze color on a coaster before. So I don't know, but they changed it. That's what it is. They also made a change to the trains. I couldn't find this anywhere, but I just noticed it in pictures. If you look at the restraints, so this is pre-change. Also, this guy's face is hilarious. And this guy is just holding his hat.
Oh.
So that's interesting. Anyway, unrelated. But if you look at these restraints, these are definitely different than the restraints on this picture over here.
Yeah, they are.
So I don't know when that change happened. I couldn't find it anywhere in like the newspapers or anything. But there definitely was an adjustment made to the over the head restraints.
I wonder if it's when they painted it.
Maybe I don't know. And like the trains also got repainted, because you can see here, this one was just a all black train with the logo, and now the trains are black, but they have like, I think these are two separate trains. I think one has a yellow with a red stripe, and this one has a red with a yellow, so they can tell the difference. Actually, yeah, now I'm just noticing that this is train 1 and this is train 2. So that's the two trains that are on it now. This is what it used to look like. So there was an adjustment made to the trains at some point, but I don't know when. So.
Okay.
In 2016, there was a rumor going around that there was going to be a floorless conversion happening to Vortex. It was going to be called Luska, which I guess is another term for the Kraken, basically.
Yeah.
So it would be like a teal and red paint job. It was completely fake, though. Someone just totally fabricated the rumor, and Carowinds basically came out and said, like, yeah, I think you found some fake news. So... turned 30 years old in March. It had its 30th birthday this year.
Happy birthday!
Happy birthday, Vortex, 30 years. So, what's next for Vortex? Well, there's always the possibility of a floorless conversion. That's what a lot of people think should happen. You know, that's what they did over at California's Great America, so it would make sense for them to do it here. The only thing is, as I mentioned earlier in the episode, is the fact that, so Nighthawk is also over in that area. I did not get to ride Nighthawk because it was down for maintenance when we were there. But that one is also very old, also built in the 90s, also has a lot of maintenance problems. It's a flying coaster, but it was built by Vekoma, not B&M, and it's just constantly having issues. They did just repaint that one, though, and just reopened it a couple months ago. So I don't think anything happens to Vortex anytime soon, but I could see 5, 6, maybe even 10 years down the road, I could totally see them tearing out Nighthawk and Vortex and putting something really big,
that'd be cool.
Like a huge centerpiece coaster in the middle of the park. Now, that's not really necessary because they have Fury 325, which is basically the centerpiece of the park, even though it's not in the middle of the park. It's so massive that it's the whole front of the park. So you don't really need a centerpiece coaster, but that would open up a lot of room for them to do a really big coaster to take out the two old coasters, put something else in. So, but we'll see. At this point, I think Vortex is just going to kind of hang around, and people are going to complain about it, but I'll keep riding it. So
there you go.
And that is the
riding it.
Yep, there's at least one person. So and that is the history of Vortex at Carowinds. Now, before we close, I do have one funny news article that's kind of related that I wanted to talk about really quick just because it's funny. So I found this article. It says 400 Seek roller coaster ride of fame. And I'll just read this. I think this was from 94, 93, so shortly after Vortex opened. Only strong stomachs needed apply, but for $100 and a chance to be on television, nothing seemed more fun than the prospect of a full day riding roller coasters. A casting call for a commercial for Paramount's amusement parks drew more than 400 people Sunday afternoon to the Rock Hill Galleria. Kids of all ages, families, and grandparents stood in line to audition for the commercial that will be filmed Friday and Saturday at Paramount's Carowinds. Basically, they had a bunch of people come, and they were looking to hire people to ride the roller coasters while they filmed for footage for a commercial. Mm. But you would be riding coasters like over and over and over and over.
I would get so sick.
Here's a couple quotes. Their whole job will be looking like they're enjoying the amusement park. Jenna,
you have to look like it.
Yeah, you can't actually enjoy it. You just need to look like you're enjoying it. Jenna Hanlon, who's 9, said that should be no problem. I've ridden the Vortex 2 times in a row, she said.
Oh, boy.
Oh, good for you. Jenna's father, Carl Hamlin, 36, just shook his head. As you get older, you temper that, he said. Okay. Pat Wentling, 35, stopped by the audition booth because it sounded like something her kids would love to do. They rode roller coasters all summer, she said. Why not do it for television? Brian Tothrow, 13, of Rock Hill, agreed. I want to be in a commercial, he said matter-of-factly. This is so funny. Brian, who said he rode the roller coasters all summer, said $100 is good. Okay. His sister, Hope, 17, was more serious about the tryout. I want to be an actress, Hope said. This is a chance.
Oh, dear.
This is not a chance to be an actress.
No.
This is a roller coaster commercial. Hope agreed with her brother that the $100 isn't so bad either. Which,
Hope is hopeful.
By the way, Hope is hopeful. By the way, $100 at this time frame, only like $205 nowadays. That is not a lot to get paid for a whole day of quote-unquote working, but I guess you're just riding a roller coaster. But,
yeah.
Assistant casting director said, it is a bet. What is it? Assistant casting director Patrick McColgan said it is better than good. $100 for 200 people is $20,000 going into this area. That's excellent for the economy. Okay. Don't pat yourself on the shoulder too much. Pat yourself on the shoulder. Pat yourself on the back. That's not the phrase.
I'm gonna pat you on the shoulder.
Pat me on the shoulder. Thanks. And then this last...
You don't even get a pat on the back.
You get a pat on the shoulder. Then this last line, we're going to close the episode with this because this is hilarious. Not bad for sales of Dramamine either.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's pretty funny.
That was clever. I like that. So, well, that is it for today's episode of Airtime Traveler. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to go and follow us on social media so that you can keep up to date whenever we post a new episode. As I mentioned at the top of the episode, in 2 weeks we will be releasing our last episode of Season 1, and then we will be on hiatus for 3 months until we come back in April of 2023. But be sure to follow us on, your favorite streaming platforms or on social media so that you can keep up to date whenever we post trip reports or coaster conversations where we might talk about news or other things going on in the industry. So we're also having different conversations there, and we're probably going to be having a competition in the next few weeks. I'll be making an announcement about that, so I'm excited. Should be fun. We'll see if we can get some people involved, and there will be a prize involved for whoever wins the competition. So be sure to keep an eye out for that. Anything else that we need to talk about? I don't think so. Keep an eye out for that Disney World trip report. That'll be coming soon.
Heck yes.
And that is all.
Best episode ever.
Yeah. And that is all for today's episode. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next one.